George Westerman, senior lecturer here at the MIT Sloan School of Management, is going to lead the next session. But before we invite George and his panelists to the stage, we'd like to share some information about a very cool program he's leading to expand education around the world. Let's watch a short video.
I'm George Westerman, founder of the Global Opportunity Initiative in MIT's Office of Open Learning. The Global Opportunity Initiative, the GOI, is a community of organizations who are all working together for one goal: making workforce learning work better for employers and employees. We want to do this at global scale for people and organizations around the world. There's a lot of change happening in companies, and much more is coming soon. But unfortunately, the way we find and train and grow employees is not keeping up with everything else. And we want to change that. We see three main challenges, all of which need some transformation. Better advice on career navigation, more agile ways to teach people skills, and new ways to certify what people know and learn. Doing this can help people grow in their careers, but it can also help companies to maintain the workforce pipelines that they need. So how does the GOI work? Well, our collaborating organizations get together to tell their stories, to share best practices, and tackle some tough challenges together. Then at MIT, we help to make that happen by convening the right people, by communicating information and stories, by collaborating in research projects and working groups. We work with companies and nonprofits and governments and policymakers and educators, anybody who has a role to play in helping people to grow and thrive in their careers. So you want to be part of this mission? To learn more about how we work, you can visit goi.mit.edu or just write to me at georgew@mit.edu. I hope you want to be part of this important effort. We're going to change the world of workforce learning for each company and each employee around the world.
Hello, everybody. You've seen what we're up to right now with the Global Opportunity Initiative. And, you know, it's an important thing. It's a big thing. We'll do a little bit, but if we can start this kind of conversation going, it will be better for all of us. And we can do our small part, and other people can do even more. That's the real challenge that companies face right now, is this question of career development. You know, it's interesting. When Abby and I were writing this research, we talked to a lot of leaders on this and this prior research, and it would ask them, how good is your company at career development? And the answer was always, we're good at it. And then we'd ask, well, what about for the people who are not the high potentials? And then the story might be something different. Because, you know, the high potential programs, companies understand the importance of that, and you invest a lot to make that work. But you're doing that for a very small percentage of your people because it's expensive, it's high intensity, you know, that kind of thing. What can we do for other people too? So here's this article just came out last month in the journal, and you know, I hope you enjoy reading it. But let me just share a little bit of facts. First of all, does this matter? Does career advancement really matter? Well, here's just a little bit of data. 63% of people who changed jobs in 2021 said it was for lack of career opportunities. It was the top cited reason people quit, according to McKinsey last year. We did our own survey of 1,016 employees. 2/3 of the people want to advance. Now, other people don't want to advance, either because they're in jobs where advancement doesn't matter, or it's just not important for them. But of the people that wanted to advance, half of them said that they were being held back by lack of good career advice. Now, that's half at the individual contributor level, about a third at the manager level. So we do see a difference there, too, of what the managers and the individual contributors are experiencing. Something else that's really important, though, is this. 35%, a third of the people said that their next job is likely to be on a different path from the current one. That's a real challenge for companies, because companies tend to be, if you're going to be good, you're going to be good at helping people move up. Those horizontal, the diagonal is a tougher thing to make work. So clearly we're seeing that career paths matter, career advancement matters. And if you don't give it, people are likely to leave your company. But what does that mean about how to do it well? We heard over and over again two narratives, and I'll go ahead and call them false narratives in companies about how you do career advancement for the majority of your workers. These both sound good, but they're not quite as good as they sound. Number one, managers are responsible to develop their employees' careers. Well, that sounds like a great idea, except managers may not want to do that. Certainly in my career, many others, you've had a manager who doesn't want you to advance and leave their group because you're a good performer. There may be other issues that are getting in the way. Even when the managers want to help, they may not have the knowledge to help. They might not be able to help you connect to the right kinds of jobs, or they may be outdated knowledge that you need to do something about. And then there's the other question. If I want to move somewhere that's not in my manager's department, am I even willing to tell my manager that? Because the psychological safety questions, would that come back and hurt me in other ways? So this idea of managers are responsible to develop their employees' careers, it sounds great, and it works for some managers. There are a lot of ways this doesn't work at all. The other is we empower employees to develop their own careers. And that also sounds really interesting, right? So let's give a lot of career pathing tools. Let's give a lot of free learning that people can do. This especially sounds good to the senior executives who are funding these kinds of programs because they're the go-getters. They're the ones that can look up and say, hey, I made it. They may not remember the high potential programs. They might not remember that boss who took a chance on them when they might not have otherwise. So what happens is, if you believe this story, then when an employee doesn't advance, you tend to blame the employee and not the system. And so, these we call two false narratives because they sound good, but they just aren't as good as they seem. So the question is how to do this well. Well, those of you who are Star Wars fans know that today is a very special day of the year. May the 4th be with you. And, when we think through Star Wars, there are two really good examples here of how to do employee development really well and how to do it not so well at all. And now you'd think Luke and Anakin, they were high potentials, and it didn't always work quite the right way. Depends what outcome you're looking for these people. What we want to talk about, though, is how can you do this for the rest of your employees? How can you do it without spending the kind of time and personal attention and real effort that you put into your high potentials? How can you make it work for other people and still get the good outcome and not the bad one? So when we went out through our survey research and also through our interviews with companies, we found 3 steps to make this possible. Now, here's the thing. Most of you know these 3 steps already because they're what you're doing in your high potential programs. But the question is, why aren't you doing them? Why aren't companies doing this for everybody? And the paths look like this. Number 1, make the opportunities and the pathways visible. People tend to know what the step is up above, but they don't know what other opportunities are available for the skills that they have. And actually, inside companies is tricky too. We heard over and over again this disconnect between supply and demand, that it may be easier to hire externally than to find a good internal candidate. And vice versa for your people themselves. It may be easier to find a job externally than inside your company. So the other thing that's really tricky here is if my skills help me move up, how might they apply for a horizontal position where I might not have made that connection? Number 2 is the opportunities to learn and to practice. Everybody has their training programs for good and for bad. Abby and I have done research on how to do that in the modern way, a more transformative way to make that happen. But then how do you put the practice element in there too? So, this could be games to try it out, right? This could be short opportunities. One of the things that Schneider Electric does with its internal talent market is give you a chance to try a project, and you can see how that project works. And if it works for you and for the boss, that might be an opportunity for you to do others. Another big insurance company, Allianz, as part of your performance review, once you've talked about what you want to do, your manager has to find something in there that can help you get some practice in that area. So how can you do the practice, not just the learning? And then last but not least is this idea of strong feedback and coaching, which we all know that we can improve on, we can do better, more than the annual review, much more substantive than just the last 5 minutes of the hour when you run out of time. So we have 2 great speakers here who are thinking hard through this. Not a lot of companies are doing all of this. Many companies are making good progress in some areas. And here are 2 companies that are making really great progress. So I want to introduce you to Tony Gigliotti from UPMC, and also Lani Montoya from Pernod, Ricard, NA. So we'll start it off with Lani.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, George. And thank you to the MIT team for inviting me to be a host on this very I would say important and interesting topic that we're also working on very closely at Pernod Ricard. I'm really honored to be here. So I'm the head of HR for Pernod Ricard North America, and we are the #2 world leader in the spirits industry, wines and spirits. We have over 240 premium brands that are distributed across 160 markets with 18,500 employees. The Pernod Ricard North America affiliate is the biggest market, and we employ around 2,000 employees with offices and production sites across the US and Canada. So that's just to tell you a little bit about Pernod Ricard. And very similar to what George has described, our journey has been very much centered around the employee really driving their career. And then there's aspects of that that are definitely owned by the company. We have, of course, high performance programs that we do at a more senior level and for critical roles. But for the most part, we have really put in place a system that allows individuals to really own their career. It's a journey we started about 5 years ago as we started to really expand our talent management processes and really bring a more holistic, employee-centered approach to what we do. And a lot of that was centered around the way that we manage performance, the way that we assess potential, the way that we understand how our employees want to develop their careers, what is it that they are interested in doing, what skills do they want to develop. And we rolled out a global system called Workday that actually gave visibility across all levels of the organization and across all of our markets to positions that are available in the organization at different levels. So the visibility is definitely there. We have an employee opinion survey called I Say, where we're constantly listening in to what our employees are saying. And we're learning from this to make sure that we are providing those opportunities for employees. But it's, we are, like many companies, really still at a early stage in this area where we're putting in a lot of the environment and the ecosystem to really foster career development. And now we need to work closer with AI to really accelerate and provide even more visibility across all of our employees so they can develop their skills and co-manage their careers with their manager, HR, and the employee. So we've aligned our leadership model. We have leadership behaviors across all positions of the organization. And this is really how we expect our employees to behave in the workplace. And we look at elements like what you do and how you do it. And so these are all aspects to really drive performance as well as potential. And then very excited to say that we have Project Horizons, which is really a tool that's going to bring a lot of that visibility to employees so that they're able to own the way that they want to develop their skills in the organization through different projects, as well as allow them to profile themselves for different opportunities across the organization. So it's a benefit to HR because we will be able to source skill sets in the organization more rapidly when we have positions available. Also for managers who are looking for certain skill sets to be able to identify who holds those skill sets, and for employees to be able to develop skill sets that they want for specific roles. So we are on a journey. It's very exciting. We still do believe that each one of these components, the employee, the manager, and HR, really play a role in how careers are driven in the organization. And now I'm going to pass it over to Tony.
Thanks so much, Lani, and good day, everyone. I'm Tony Gigliotti. I'm the Senior Director of Talent Management and Organizational Development at UPMC, and it's a real pleasure to be with all of you today. For context, UPMC is a multinational healthcare provider and insurer headquartered in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania. We have 95,000 employees, 800 physician offices and outpatient centers, 40 US and 6 European hospitals, and 4.5 million subscribers to our health insurance products. For several years now, we've been listening to our employee voice, primarily from our employee engagement survey that we call My Voice. We noted that staff really crave dialogue about their career development with their supervisors. And they were indicating through the survey that they wanted more opportunities for their training and professional development. From our turnover data, we noted that the number one reason why employees left our organization in 2022 was for career advancement. Now, this was quite perplexing to me as a talent leader in the organization because UPMC has hundreds, if not thousands, of career opportunities throughout our vast organization. And we offer a wide array of internal development opportunities and benefits that support employees who wish to advance their education. This was a challenge for us, a real conundrum. And we framed our challenges in three specific ways. One, how can we truly encourage employees to be proactive about identifying their career aspirations at UPMC and truly discussing a plan of action with their leaders? Two, how do we transparently share the many career opportunities that are available throughout UPMC? And three, which career tools and resources are most valuable to our employees? These guiding questions helped us create 3 career development resources for our employees, and we introduced them during our kickoff of our annual performance evaluation process, which was late last year. And that particular process has high visibility throughout the organization. The 3 new resources that we introduced are simply an expanded section of the optional self-evaluation, which is part of the annual performance evaluation process. This new section prompts employees for their feedback on their career aspirations at UPMC. And we also ask them, what type of support do you need from the organization or from your manager? Our objective here is to catalyze a career conversation between the employee and their leader, certainly during the performance evaluation process itself, but also thereafter. We were delighted to see that over 72% of our population chose to complete a self-evaluation, and the overwhelming majority of those individuals also completed the new section of the self-eval. Secondly, we introduced what we call the My Career at UPMC site on our intranet. And this was created by employees for employees. It packages our many career development tools and resources into one easy to access site. Within 4 months, that site had over 8,500 hits to it. And last but certainly not least is what we call our Explore Careers section of our human capital management system. Explore Careers transparently shares the employee's individual career path with them so they can see where they are in that path, the jobs that are above theirs and those that are beneath theirs. But Explore Careers goes beyond just my own career path. It also presents me with career paths from other job families within the organization. I can click on any role and also obtain the job description so I can better understand what that job entails, as well as the qualifications for that role. If any of the roles look interesting to me, I can quickly see if there are vacancies. And of course, we wanted to cross-reference through Explore Careers, and we linked to the My Careers at UPMC, again, which provides many career development tools. Astoundingly, Explore Careers within 2 months had 250,000 hits to this particular site. And within 4 months, we had nearly 500,000 hits from our employees. That represents over 25,000 unique users who are quite engaged with the site. So although these resources are fairly new, we're hopeful that they will continue to evolve and meet our employees' career development needs.
Well, fantastic. And can we bring Lani back on the camera also? Perfect. Good. We're all here then. Such great stories. And, it's been nice to get to know you over the last couple of years as you've been making such amazing progress on this, even, each year, even with the pandemic coming on in this situation. You've made a lot of changes. You put a lot of things in there. if you would say there was one thing, a mechanism or a mindset or something that just clicked and made this work better, what would it be? You want to start us off, Lani?
Sure. I would say for us, it was really driving feedback in the organization. We came from an organization that was really, we promote a lot from within and we build skill sets within the organization. And very rarely do we seek, external talents unless we don't have the capability within. So we really believe in building capabilities within the organization. As a result of that, feedback was not as strong as it could have been. And so we've really focused on feedback, one, helping managers and equipping them to be able to have the right feedback discussions, making feedback as normal as it can be. So it's really implemented in all of our processes, and going a step further with really thinking about feedback as a development source rather than something that we shy away from. And so we put in place development centers. One of them called Lead Up, which we offer at a global level. And then, of course, we have the normal 360 feedbacks. We have them implemented into the system. We have peer feedbacks. So we've really sort of rolled out feedback in the last couple of years across all levels of the organization. So I would say feedback is really a gift. And that's the way we really drive the mindset within the organization.
And so different from a lot of places where I've been, where feedback was just something you had to do once a year and get through the hour and then you were done. So very different. Thanks. Tony?
I'd say for us, the Explore Careers application, for several years now, our employees have been asking for more transparent sharing of their career path information, as well as simple access to job descriptions for a variety of other roles across the organization. And George, you mentioned earlier that some employees may not have that psychological safety to talk with their leaders about their career aspirations. And so now they have at their fingertips a lot of information where they can do the research on their own without involving their leader per se. And I think that will empower more employees with knowledge, and they would be able to really close any skill or knowledge gaps that they may have and work towards that targeted role. So Explore Careers certainly has been a game changer for us.
Thank you. Both of you touched on this concept about a certain trust and a certain confidence that if I make my wishes known, that the organization will do something about that. So how do you build that trust? This came up actually a question from the group, but now's a great time to ask it. And either one who wants to talk.
Well, first and foremost, I think it is about equipping leaders to have these conversations. Just because someone has the title of leader does not mean that they have the skill set to have career development conversations, crucial conversations, performance conversations. So for us, a lot of it simply starts with training and skilling, but we try to go beyond that as well. And we try to find the best leaders in the organization and really highlight them, put them on stage, help us train other leaders. And we ask them, you're in this scenario. What do you do? What do you say? How do you carry yourself? And I find that other leaders can learn a lot from those best practice leaders and gain important tips and tools so that when they're ready to have the conversation, they're setting the right foundation, one that's positive, one that's engaging, and something that we care a lot about is one that's caring for our employees.
Great. And certainly the horizontal is even harder than the vertical. The horizontal, the diagonal, because even if I want to help as a manager, I may not know how. So have you found good ways or less good ways to make the horizontal and diagonal conversations and development work?
I think for us, it goes a bit to what Tony has said. We have a lot of, with this tool that we were able to roll out Workday, which is an excellent sort of talent management tool, along with a very strong process. We really were able to bring much more visibility to the employees. And so they're able to see horizontally, vertically positions. They can go into the tool and see different org charts. So they can see how teams are structured. If they were interested in a role, they could see how it sits within that team. We also have globally a very strong HR community of business partners. So you can speak to your HR business partner at a local level, and they can connect with the HR business partner in that other affiliate, and they can discuss about the position, how does it sit. And we also have a global job grading process. And what this does is really allows employees to have visibility to positions that are at their level, at all levels, but they can relate to what's at my level, what's higher, and what's below my level. So they have some sort of reference to how these positions sit within the organization and against their own role. So this is really, I think a lot of it is, as Tony said, it's visibility, it's education, it's feedback, it's partnership, right? This is not something that employees can do on their own. There has to be an ecosystem that really facilitates that. And one of the things that we've done is we strongly believe that the line manager and the employee relationship is key, but we want to empower our employees. And so when we say own your career, it's really about the organization giving you the power, the tools and resources to be able to navigate and do that the way you want with whatever, your learning style is, because we all have different learning styles. So these are some things that we've put into the process, and now also with AI into tools to be able to provide that to all of our employees across the organization.
So how do you know, we've been talking about OKRs and stuff all morning. How do you know career development is working?
So I would say it isn't HR saying, hey, we have great programs, come work for us, right? Or leaders even saying that. Of course, we have a bit of an incentive to always be a cheerleader for our organization and our programs. I think it goes back to, what are our consumers saying? Who are our employees? And it comes down to constantly checking in with our My Voice survey, our employee engagement survey. It's constantly monitoring turnover and reasons for turnover, listening to the employee's voice, and having that be our foundation for any type of strategies that we put together, and making sure that we're balancing not just employee needs, and those are, again, communicated through these various organizational tools, but we're also finding a middle ground. We can't forget about what the organization needs as well. And so really trying to strike a good balance between the two, but really listening to our consumers, our employees, and ensuring that their voice is really driving our strategies.
Lani, do you have a set of measures you think about?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you. Yes. Hello?
Yep. Sorry, this was stuck a little. So we very much to what Tony said, we do the same. I think part of it is also our ability to acquire. Many times when we go and look for talent, they talk about the career development that they've heard about within the organization or from referrals. It really also, we can see it in the diversity in the organization that we're seeing, specifically when you have been mainly building capability within, and now you're able to see, diversity in all different forms within the organization. And really our EVP, when we measure our EVP, our turnover rates, we look at all of those aspects around career development, but it's really important, I think, to continue to evolve. I think career development is one of those things that it can't stay stagnant. You've got to pay attention to it. And as we continue to progress with the way people want to drive their careers and the level of, I would say, skill building that they can do on their own or through the organization, and really bringing the human approach, not just looking at the person's skill sets within the work, but really who they are even outside of the workplace, I think really drives career development.
Okay, thank you. So we have about 5 minutes left. Just want to take a few more questions. I've incorporated a few of them into the questions that I asked you, but a few more questions from the audience. There's a question specifically for Lani, but I think it applies also to you, Tony. When you're asking people to fill out their skills and their career profiles, there's a temptation to just load everything in there rather than ones that you think are most important. Does this really happen? And what advice do you have for helping the employees create this data the right way? So Lani was the one that came to, but yeah.
I can take that one first. So we have what we call talent profiles, and this is an opportunity for the employee to really showcase their skill sets, what they've achieved, certifications, their experience, education, and so on. It's, I would say, an ongoing challenge to get employees to fill that. So we do a campaign every year, a few times a year, to really help employees keep this top of mind, as well as we explain to them how it's being used in the organization, so they see the benefit of why they're completing this. And we do use it for, as we look for people for different positions, this is really our source of, of truth for on the individual. And so it's an ongoing process. I would say it's not perfect. I would love for employees to put everything. In fact, the system that we have is great because it allows you to really segment all of the different areas and gives you so much spacing. So it kind of helps you limit, but it also allows you to not just focus on what you do at work, but what you also do externally that can develop your skill sets. And employees actually, they don't fill it in enough. Some of it is automated, so the system will populate some things for the employee, and we do that through the reviews, annual reviews. But in terms of really building their skill set profile, I wish they would, upload as many skill sets as possible. But today they keep it quite simple. But we put it in place now. It's 4 years, and we continue to drive campaigns to have those completed.
And Tony, do you have the same thing? People not giving enough, or do you have them giving too much? What's the right formula?
We are at the beginning stages of talent profile, so I was hoping Lani had all the answers to that we could leverage. We are looking right now at whether we have open fields where you can place any skills, or whether we start out with a key foundation of skills, and then simply have employees select the ones that they are competent in. So we're debating that with our HR teams as to whether it'll just be a free flow of information, or whether we'll put some boundaries on that, at least in the beginning. But I agree with Lani that, our folks are so busy being in healthcare and being in a pandemic and coming out of a pandemic, that when we're asking people to fill out talent profiles, sometimes it's really, I have a few more important things to do at this point in time. So there has to be a what's in it for me, though. I think if employees are going to spend the time providing this information, then they need to know that there's some ROI for their effort. And if we're not building that into the strategy, then we probably will not get great compliance. So we're also thinking through that as well.
Well, and you highlight something else that we're trying to do here in the Global Opportunity Initiative, which is to get some birds of the feather working groups together on, what are the data science skills that need at different levels, or how can you think about, the data in the career pathing. So, I know we talk all the time, but if other people are interested, please talk to me about that in the GOI. A question for Tony, and of course it comes back to Lani. Tony, you mentioned 5 career development questions. Can you give us a couple of those?
As long as I get royalties on them, George. Very simple. I call them power questions as a coach. I like questions that really get people thinking. And I will tell you, when I was doing my own self-evaluation, I came to those 5 questions and I thought, wow, these are hard. But quite honestly, it simply is, where do you want to go in your career? What's your target role at UPMC? So we're not encouraging them to look outside. We were very specific about saying at UPMC. What tools and resources do you need? What knowledge might you need to glean? What skills do you need to build? And really, how can your manager assist you? So having these simple questions that we often don't ask ourselves, and managers often don't ask their employees, but boy, having that information can result in a pretty powerful career conversation between the manager and the employee. So very simple questions, really cost us nothing to expand that self-evaluation, but getting a lot of rich feedback now.
Great, thank you. So we have 1 minute left, and I wanted just to give you guys both a chance to just say, could you, in 10 words or less, What advice do you have for leaders in other companies about how to create a good career development process for all employees? Let's start with Lani.
So I would say, be obsessed with feedback, be obsessed with learning, with skill set building. I think it's, we need to really think about the role the employee plays. So there's something for the employee, there's something for the organization, and then there's of course something for the manager. So I really do believe it's sort of a self-fulfilling prophecy if everyone works together. And we have the right process in place to really build the highest standards in career development. It's all about really developing yourself and giving individuals the opportunity to do that.
Okay, great. And on to you, Tony. What's your 10 words or slightly more?
Okay, my 10 words or less is build a process that addresses both employee and organizational needs. And when we think about career development, of course, there's a what's in it for me, for the individual employee, but it also means more engaged employees. It means employees that we retain and we avoid turnover costs. So there's also a big what's in it for me for the organization. And being able to tell that full story, I think, is really important in order to get buy-in from a multitude of stakeholders, both at that employee level all the way up to the executive level.
Wonderful. I want to thank you both for being here. I've learned so much from talking to you. And of course, now you've been able to share some of that knowledge with the larger group. My request would be take this idea of career development for everybody, take it to heart. If you've got those two false narratives, do something to make them less false and make them real to help the employees make this progress happen. And of course, if you want to learn more about what we are doing in the Global Opportunity Initiative, just send me an email. I'd love to talk to you. Thank you.